Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and as you can see, today we will be ranking the Twilight Jam tracks. So, obviously last time we did the Shopping Jam, and this time, well, we are obviously moving on, so, yeah. Once again, these are the versions found on the Custom Track Jams Discord server, not the versions found on the wiki, so the tracks may have been updated since, the version that I'm using here, but I figure it's only fair that I use the versions that were originally ranked. So yeah, and one other thing to mention is that there are two tracks this jam that were disqualified. I will be including them in this ranking just because they're included in the download, so I do consider them part of this jam. Yeah, that's about all that needs to be said, so let's get started. Right, so for our last place track, we have How Did We Get Here by Stunky. So, I mean, I think this one's, pretty obvious. This track has become a major meme on the Custom Track Jams Discord server just because it looks very, very, very bad, no offense to Stunky. This originally placed last. Yeah, there's not really much else to say. It doesn't play the best. It has KCL bugs. Well, if you don't know what KCL is, it's collision. Yeah, there's those tight turns. It's just overall not a really good track, at least in my opinion, and I know that others probably agree with me on this, but yeah. I guess that's gonna do it for How Did We Get Here. Actually, I'm gonna have the commentary go on a little bit longer because that's where the most major KCL bug is. You have to hop over that, which is not good. Yeah, that is going to do it for How Did We Get Here by Stunky. Alright, so for our 10th place track, we have After Dark Abyss by HMan6516. Originally placing, I believe it was 7th. So, this track, it's really not that great. The skybox, it is scaled too small. It's not rounded, so there's an abyss beneath it, I guess, hence the name. There's some untextured things in some of the loops. It doesn't play well at all. It's just overall just a very underwhelming track, especially when it's from HMan, because HMan has made some pretty good jam tracks in the past, and in future ranking videos we will see more of those. This is not one of those great HMan tracks. This is probably, I'd say, HMan's worst track. I mean, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that's worse than Bounce, in my opinion. Yeah, but there's not really much else to say. It's just very unfinished. Yeah, that's going to do it for After Dark Abyss by HMan6516. Alright, so for our next track, we have The Twilight Zone by Billy Noodles. This track originally placed, I believe, 6th. So, at first glance, this track looks pretty nice. However, there is one major glaring issue, and that's that if you look in the minimap and you see that huge gap, yeah, that gap isn't possible without a mushroom. It's literally impossible to clear this gap without a mushroom, and for that alone, it's gonna get pretty low from me, and it looks better, and in some ways plays better than the next track on our list, which is still not very good. It's just, this is kind of inexcusable, because I honestly, I don't know what Billy was thinking with this. I mean, I don't know how you can miss something like that. From what I heard, I don't know how much time he had to make a track. I think he was kind of short on time, so he just had to... He didn't have time to adjust anything. So, yeah. I guess I'll continue commentating because I do want to actually pass the gap in this video. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what? I guess that's going to do it for the Twilight Zone by Billy Noodles, because it's quite a bit more time before I pass the gap. So yeah, that's going to do it for the Twilight Zone by Billy Noodles. Alright, so for our next track, we have Twilight Town, made by yours truly. So, this track originally placed 8th. This is not a good track, in my opinion. I updated it so it looks okay, it looks better, but this was when I was still using C tools, so you know it's not going to be a good track. This track is just, it's very generic, it's not interesting in gameplay. I've kind of grown to despise it a bit. It doesn't really have any major issues regarding playability, though. It's not. It doesn't seem as unfinished as some of the other ones. And it wasn't intended. It wasn't unfinished. I can confirm that. I completed this within a day. Yeah, it's just overall not my best work. Yeah, that's going to do it for Twilight Town by yours truly. Alright, so next up we have Twilight Fantasy by JDS. This track originally placed 5th. This is... well, let me start off first by saying that JDS has made some pretty good tracks over the course of the jams. He made, let me think. He made, Jesus Christ, why can't I think? He made some iconic tracks, such as, Jesus. Alright, you know what? I'm not even gonna go there. I cannot think right now. It's very late and I am exhausted. So, this track is not one of JDS's good tracks. It lacks visually. It has some nice theming, but it is not that fun to play, in my opinion. There's some whack KCL here and there. Yeah, there's not really much else to say about this one. Definitely not JDS's best work. Yeah, that's going to do it for Twilight Fantasy by JDS. Alright, for our next track, we have Dim District by Rex. And this is nothing against Rex, but I am not a huge fan of this track. In my opinion, it is way too simple. It's not the best visually. It has a blind jump. It's just overall, in my opinion, not really that good of a track. Yeah, there's not really much else to say. It's very short, very simple. Yeah, I guess that's going to do it for Dim District by Rex. Alright, next up we have Crispular Crossover by Jaden. This track, I believe it originally placed, I want to say 4th. Yeah. This track, it's good. It is another kind of basic layout, but it does look pretty nice visually, in my opinion. I do really like this track compared to some of Jaden's other tracks, and not saying something because Jaden generally has pretty good tracks. I definitely prefer this to Checkout Route. Yeah, it's overall an interesting track. It obviously has that battle stage theme going for it. This is obviously Twilight House. I know Coin Runner Circuit already did that, but I don't think that's too much of an issue. Yeah, the track itself, it plays nice. Yeah, overall, just a really solid track from Jaden. Alright, that is going to do it for Crispular Crossover by Jaden. Alright, for our next track, we have Twilight Jungle by Slippery Mac. This track originally placed second. So, this track, it's overall a pretty solid track, I'd say. It's not the best. I think it's pretty unfinished. It's a floating it's a floating jungle. But overall, I think it is very solid. It plays nicely. Like I said, it's very unfinished, but I feel like it's less of an issue as it is in some of the other tracks. Yeah. There's not really much else to say about this one. Yeah, so that's going to do it for Twilight Jungle by Slippery Mac. Alright, so for our next track, we have Starlit Sanctuary by Toxic Prime. This track originally placed second, however, it was later disqualified. The reason it was disqualified is because it uses Bowser statue models that that Toxic, apparently he thought they were just textures, but they do have slight model edits to them. So, and that is not allowed, so it was disqualified. This is, in my opinion, the Toxic's best track by miles and miles. It plays really nicely, it looks pretty good, yeah, that's really all there is to say. Definitely one of his better tracks, by a very long shot. It's by a very long shot. Yeah, just overall a very solid track. It's too bad that it was disqualified. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for Starlit Sanctuary by Toxic Prime. Alright, so for our next track, we have Sundown Streets by Spy Kid. This track originally placed first. So, this track, in my opinion, it's pretty good. It's a very good track. Yeah. It's very solid. It plays nicely. The visuals could be quite a bit better, in my opinion. But overall, they are pretty good for a track that was made in such a short amount of time. Yeah, overall, just a very solid Spy Kid track. I do appreciate the cars. Really seals the deal on how much effort was put into this one. Yeah, so that's going to do it for Sundown Streets by Spy Kid. Alright, and for our winning track, we have Toadstool Trench by Taco Josh, originally disqualified, though if it hadn't been, it would have placed second. So, this track was disqualified because it uses the Mushroom House models from Mario Party 9, which is not allowed, but overall, this track is very good, and Taco Josh, I believe he said he was working on an update for it, which is awesome because this track plays very well. It looks great. The only real issue I have with this track is there is an infinite respawn bug, though I do think that everything else in this track really makes up for it, because the track itself, it's beautiful. It looks really, really nice. It is a bit dark, but I don't think that's really too big of an issue, in my opinion. Yeah. So, I guess that's going to do it for Toadstool Trench by Taco Josh. Alright, that's going to do it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, if you want to see more content, be sure to like and subscribe. It doesn't really help me out that much because I'm not getting money from this anyways, but if you want to keep getting this content, then go right ahead. Be my guest. Yeah. Once again, as I say in every video, if your track placed low, that does not mean I have anything against you. It was purely my opinion on the track, and chances are your track wasn't too bad. Unless it was Twilight Town. If you made Twilight Town, you suck. Yeah, well, that depressed me a little bit. Just kidding. Yeah, that's basically all I really have to say here. So, yeah, that's going to do it, and I will see you guys on the next one. Alright, bye.